The enormous chamber stretched beyond human comprehension, its vaulted ceiling disappearing into darkness. Hundreds of meters above, Ambassador Olivia Hale struggled to maintain her composure as she led the small Earth delegation across the polished, obsidian floor. Their footsteps echoed in the cavernous space while thousands of alien eyes followed their progress. The Galactic Council headquarters orbiting the neutral world of Centauri Prime housed representatives from over 3,000 worlds. The massive ring structure was visible from the planet below, a gleaming silver halo against the blackness of space, a physical manifestation of power that had governed interstellar relations for millennia, until now humanity had been unaware of its existence. Olivia fought the urge to gape at the sheer diversity of life forms filling the chamber's tiered seating. Beings of all descriptions watched the humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to undisguised hostility. Some appeared almost humanoid with subtle differences, while others defied categorization entirely. Gaseous entities swirling in containment fields, crystalline structures pulsing with inner light, and massive gelatinous creatures whose bodies rippled with bioluminescence. Admiral Jack Porter walked beside Olivia, his military bearing unwavering despite the intimidating surroundings. His weathered face betrayed nothing, but Olivia noticed his hand resting near his ceremonial sidearm, a gesture of anxiety he would never admit. To Dr. Maya Wells, the xenobiologist completed their trio, her eyes wide behind specialized lenses designed to help her observe and catalog the myriad species present. Her fingers twitched occasionally, longing for her datapad, but protocol demanded they carry no technology into the council chamber. The journey to this moment had been sudden and jarring. 6 months earlier, an enormous vessel had appeared in Earth orbit broadcasting a simple message in perfect English. The Galactic Council requires your presence. No explanation, no diplomacy, merely a summons. Humanity could not refuse. 6 months of frantic preparation followed, selecting representatives, developing protocols, and attempting to understand the implications of joining an interstellar community that had apparently been watching humanity for centuries. Now they stood before the raised dais where the council elders, 7 beings from the oldest spacefaring civilizations, presided. The central figure, a tall, willowy entity with luminous skin that shifted between shades of blue rose from an ornate chair. Welcome, representatives of Earth. The voice resonated directly in their minds, bypassing the need for translation. I am High Elder Vorel of the Lumari. We have monitored your development with great interest. The elder gestured with elongated fingers, and a holographic display appeared above the central floor showing Earth rotating slowly. The image zoomed in, highlighting major cities, military installations, and orbital platforms. Your civilization stands at a crossroads, continued Vorel. Your technological advancement has reached the threshold where we can no longer maintain the quarantine of your system. Quarantine. Olivia kept her voice steady despite her shock. We were unaware of any restriction on our movements beyond our solar system. Another elder, a massive being with scales like burnished copper and multiple eyes arranged in a circle around its head, leaned forward. Your awareness is irrelevant. Human, the quarantine, was established for the protection of neighboring systems. Your species has demonstrated concerning tendencies toward aggression, territoriality, and resource consumption. Admiral Porter stepped forward slightly, his stance widening. With respect, we have also demonstrated cooperation, scientific advancement, and peaceful resolution of conflicts. These traits define humanity as much as our failings. A murmur rippled through the assembled representatives. Some species communicated through light patterns, others through scent or subsonic vibrations, creating a discordant symphony of reaction. The copper elder regarded Porter with rotating eyes. Your military presence here contradicts your peaceful claims. Human, it was Dr. Wells who responded, her voice clear despite her nervousness. Our delegation represents the balance of our society. Admiral Porter represents protection. Ambassador Hale represents diplomacy. I represent knowledge and discovery. Together, we embody humanity's approach to new frontiers. High Elder Vorel raised a hand, silencing the chamber. Regardless of your self-perception, humanity has triggered protocols established at the founding of the Council. Your rapid advancement, particularly in faster-than-light technology, has necessitated this summoning. The holographic display shifted, showing the experimental warp drive Earth had successfully tested just 3 months earlier, an achievement that had been celebrated across the planet as humanity's first step toward the stars. What Earth does not know continued. Varel, is that your warp signature bears troubling similarities to technology used by the Vexari Dominion. The hologram changed again, displaying ships of alien design, sleek predatory vessels that seemed designed for combat. The Vexari nearly destroyed the Council 5 centuries ago, explained a third elder, a being composed of what appeared to be flowing mercury, contained within a transparent exoskeleton. Their aggressive expansion conquered 20 systems before they were finally contained. The similarity between your drive signature and theirs activated ancient warning systems. Olivia processed this information quickly, understanding the implicit accusation. Are you suggesting humans are somehow connected to these Vexari? The murmur in the chamber grew louder, more agitated. We suggest nothing, stated Varel. We observe and analyze. The question before this council is whether humanity represents a resurgence of Vexari influence or has independently developed similar technology. The answer will determine Earth's status moving forward. Olivia exchanged glances with her colleagues. Admiral Porter looked outraged, Dr. Wells fascinated. She needed to regain control of the narrative before Earth was labeled a threat based on coincidental technology. High Elder. She began choosing her words carefully. We understand your caution, but humanity developed our warp theory independently through centuries of theoretical physics and engineering. We would welcome any technical inspection of our designs to verify this. High Elder Varel's skin shifted to a deeper blue. The Vexari were also willing to share technology before they revealed their true intentions. Their apparent openness was the key to their initial success. A new voice cut through the chamber, a rasping sound like stones grinding together. Your caution is justified, Varel. But remember the archivists. Paradox, the voice belonged to a being seated in the lower tiers, its body resembling a collection of crystalline structures arranged in roughly humanoid form. The archivist's paradox? Asked Olivia, unable to contain her curiosity. The crystalline being turned its faceted head toward her. Parallel development across species is not only possible but probable given similar physical laws and challenges. Similar solutions arise from similar problems. This is fundamental to evolutionary science. High Elder Varel acknowledged this with a slight inclination of their head. Nevertheless, the Council has protocols, Ambassador Hale. Your species will remain under observation. A delegation will return with you to Earth to inspect your technology and assess your civilization more thoroughly. Admiral Porter stiffened. That would constitute a significant intrusion into our sovereignty. A harsh sound erupted from several council members, something Olivia interpreted as laughter. You have no sovereignty here, Human rumbled. The Copper Elder. Your planet exists because we allow it. Olivia placed a restraining hand on Porter's arm before responding. We welcome the opportunity to demonstrate our peaceful intentions. However, we request that any delegation respect our customs and governance during their assessment. High Elder Varel considered. The delegation will observe appropriate protocols during the assessment period. You will be permitted to continue development under supervision, but any attempt to expand beyond your solar system without council approval will be considered an act of aggression. The terms were not negotiable. Olivia realized Earth was being placed under a form of interstellar probation. A wrong move could lead to consequences she didn't want to contemplate. We accept these terms, she said formally, though. I request the opportunity to address the full council regarding humanity's achievements and values before we depart. We believe there is much we could contribute to this galactic community. Murmurs of surprise rippled through the chamber. Few new species were granted speaking rights before the assembled council. High Elder Varel conferred briefly with the other elders before responding. Your request is granted, Ambassador. You will address the council tomorrow after the delegation has been selected. You have until then to prepare. As the formal proceedings concluded, Olivia and her team were escorted to quarters prepared for them within the massive station. The rooms were clearly designed for multiple species with adaptable environments. and furnishings. Once alone, Admiral Porter exploded. This is outrageous. They treat us like children or criminals based on coincidental technology. Dr. Wells was already documenting everything she'd observed. The implications are fascinating. Jack, think about it: convergent evolution of technology, parallel development across entirely different biological templates. The scientific principles must be truly universal. Olivia moved to the viewport, gazing out at the spectacular vista of stars and the curve of Centauri Prime below. "We have one chance," she said quietly, "to convince them we're not a threat but an asset." Her mind was already racing, formulating a strategy that would showcase. The council chamber seemed even larger the second day, as Ambassador Olivia Hale stood alone at the speaking platform, surrounded by thousands of alien representatives. The 7 high elders loomed above her on their elevated dais, silent and imposing, as they waited for her address. Her small human form appeared insignificant against the vast architecture designed to humble petitioners. Admiral Porter and Dr. Wells watched from a designated observation area, their expressions tense with anticipation. The fate of Earth rested on whatever strategy Olivia had developed overnight. High Elder Varel raised elongated fingers. "The human representative will now address the council regarding Earth's position. Ambassador, you have been allocated standard time parameters." Proceed. Olivia took a deep breath, surveying the chamber filled with beings who held her planet's future in their collective grasp. Rather than standing at the formal podium, she stepped forward to the edge of the platform, her action causing murmurs among the gathered representatives. "I bring no prepared statement," she began, her voice amplified by unseen technology echoing throughout the chamber. "Instead, I wish to demonstrate something about humanity that may help you understand our true nature." More murmurs rippled through the assembly. Varel tilted their head, a gesture of curiosity. Perhaps Olivia gestured toward the observation area. "My colleagues and I were discussing your concern about the similarity between our warp technology and that of the Vexari Dominion. May I ask how the Vexari responded when this similarity was first noted?" The copper-scaled elder leaned forward with rotating eyes. "They denied any connection, claimed independent development, much as you have done. Human, and did you believe them?" asked Olivia. "The council records indicate they were given provisional status while investigations continued," answered. Varel. Olivia nodded. "And during this investigation period, what actions did they take?" Another elder, a being that appeared to be composed of interlocking geometric shapes that rearranged themselves as it spoke, addressed the question. "They shared their technology, freely offering advancements beyond what many council species possessed. Their generosity was later revealed as infiltration." "Thank you," said Olivia. "I propose a different approach." She turned, addressing the entire chamber. "Humanity will suspend all warp research effective immediately pending your investigation. We will not offer our technology nor attempt to advance it without supervision." Gasps echoed from various sections of the chamber. Such voluntary technological regression was virtually unheard of among emerging species. High Elder Varel studied her with luminous eyes. "That is an unexpected proposal, Ambassador. What do you seek in exchange?" Olivia smiled slightly. "Knowledge, not technology. We request access to the Council's historical and cultural archives, information about the species that compose this body. Your philosophies, your arts, your mistakes and triumphs. We wish to learn who our neighbors are before we attempt a journey among you." The Mercury-like elder rippled with apparent agitation. "Why would you prioritize such information over technological advancement?" "Most species seek weapons, propulsion systems, or energy production methods because humanity has learned." Olivia replied that technology without wisdom leads to destruction. "We have nearly destroyed ourselves several times in our history. Our technologies advanced faster than our understanding of how to use them responsibly. We don't wish to repeat that mistake on a galactic scale." She gestured to the vast chamber surrounding them. "This council represents millennia of accumulated wisdom. The very structure of your governance, the methods by which you maintain peace among thousands of diverse species, that is what humanity needs most. Not faster engines or stronger weapons, Dr. Wells leaned toward Admiral Porter in the observation area. Did you know this was her strategy? Porter shook his head, never taking his eyes off Olivia. No, but it's brilliant. On the dais, the council elders conferred in silence, communicating through means invisible to human perception. Finally, Varel addressed the chamber. The human proposal is unexpected. We will consider it while the assessment delegation completes its work. Olivia recognized the diplomatic maneuver for what it was, a delay rather than a decision. But even that represented progress. You misunderstand, Elder, she said gently, causing another ripple of surprise at her interruption of a high elder. This is not a negotiating position, it is a statement of intent. Regardless of your decision, humanity will pause our warp development to focus on learning about our galactic neighbors. We believe this is the responsible course. The crystalline being who had mentioned the archivists. Paradox the previous day emitted a sound like wind chimes. The human demonstrates wisdom unusual in an emerging species. This alone distinguishes them from the Vexari, who never showed such restraint. Hi. Elder Varel seemed to consider this. I am curious, Ambassador. What drove humanity to develop warp technology, if not expansion or resource acquisition? Olivia smiled warmly. Curiosity, Elder. The same force that drives a child to explore beyond its crib. Humans look to the stars and wonder what stories they might tell, what lives are lived in their light. We seek connection, understanding, perhaps even friendship. Another elder, who had not yet spoken, a being that appeared to be a swirling vortex of colored gases, contained in a transparent shell, addressed the chamber. The Vexari spoke of conquest, power, and destiny. They never once mentioned friendship. This is the difference, I believe, offered Olivia. The Vexari saw the galaxy as something to possess, humanity sees it as something to understand. The chamber had grown unusually quiet as representatives of thousands of species considered her words. High Elder Varel finally broke the silence. Your species shows promise. Ambassador, though promise is not proof. You will return to Earth with our delegation. You will provide unrestricted access to your warp research facilities as promised. We will reconvene this council when their assessment is complete. Olivia bowed slightly. Thank you, Elder Az. She returned to her colleagues. Admiral Porter gripped her shoulder in congratulation. You may have just saved Earth, he whispered. I bought us time. Olivia replied, her voice low. Nothing more. Their decision still hinges on the investigation. Dr. Wells nodded toward a group of aliens approaching them. The delegation, I presume. 5 beings of vastly different physiologies moved toward the humans with purpose. The apparent leader. A tall humanoid with skin that seemed to shift between transparency and opacity. Introduced themselves. I am Trell, Chief Investigator for the Council. These are my colleagues. She indicated each in turn. A mantis-like being with compound eyes and clicking mandibles, a smallish entity that seemed to be composed entirely of tightly woven vines and flowers. A hovering creature resembling a jellyfish with pulsing lights beneath its translucent bell, and a squat reptilian being with 6 limbs and a ridge of sensory spines along its back. We depart immediately for Earth, stated Trell without preamble. Our ship awaits. Olivia exchanged glances with her colleagues before addressing the investigator. We welcome you and will provide all necessary assistance. However, I request a delay of 6 hours to allow us to communicate with Earth regarding your arrival. Preparations must be made to receive you properly and to implement our technology. Suspension. Trell considered this request with unblinking eyes. 4 hours, no more. Your communication will be monitored. Thank you, Olivia replied. We would expect nothing less as they were escorted toward the communication hub. Olivia maintained her diplomatic composure, but her mind raced with implications. Earth needed warning not just about the arriving delegation, but about the broader galactic political situation they had stumbled into. Admiral Porter matched her stride, speaking quietly. I assume there was more to your strategy than simply impressing them with our restraint. Olivia nodded slightly. Time, Jack. We needed time. Intelligence is our greatest asset right now. We know almost nothing about the Council, the Vexari, or any of the political dynamics at play. While they investigate us, we need to learn everything we can. Maya Wells joined the conversation, her voice barely above a whisper. The archives you requested access to, that was clever. They contain exactly what we need. But will they grant access? Porter asked. Olivia shrugged slightly. They might not. But the request itself demonstrates our priorities. If we had asked for weapons or defense technology, it would have confirmed their suspicions. The Admiral nodded in understanding. By requesting cultural and historical information, we position ourselves as scholars rather than conquerors. Exactly. Olivia confirmed. They reached the communication chamber, a spherical room with a central platform surrounded by advanced technology, unlike anything on Earth. A council technician, A, being with 4 arms and silvery skin, gestured them forward. Standard protocols apply, stated the technician. Your message will be transmitted directly to your planetary leadership, using the quantum channel established during first contact. You have 4 hours. Olivia stepped onto the platform as her colleagues waited at the perimeter. The technology activated, surrounding her with a field of energy that tingled against her skin. Within moments, she was connected to Earth's United Government Council, her image projected into their emergency chamber, thousands of light-years away. President Diane Russell appeared before her, the holographic projection showing the leader along with her. The Council vessel, luminous Accord, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, its hull gleaming against the backdrop of stars. Ambassador Olivia Hale stood at the observation deck watching as Earth came into view, a blue marble suspended in blackness. Her planet looked so small, so vulnerable from this distance behind her. The 5 members of the investigative delegation conversed in their native languages. Their translators disabled for privacy, Olivia had come to know them during the 3-week journey, learning to distinguish between formal communication and candid interaction. The mantis-like investigator Krill approached, clicking his mandibles softly. Your world appears much as the archives described, he said. His translator reactivated, beautiful but isolated. Yes. Olivia replied, we have been alone among the stars until now. Or so we believed. The vine being Florin unfurled several tendril sensors. The approach vector brings us past your military installations. Was this intentional? Olivia nodded slightly. We have nothing to hide. The facilities are expecting you. Chief Investigator Trell joined them, her shifting translucent form catching the light from Earth's sun. You have been cooperative, Ambassador, but cooperation can mask deception. The Vexari were also initially accommodating. Admiral Porter entered the observation deck, having spent much of the journey studying the Council vessel's propulsion systems under careful supervision. His weathered face betrayed fatigue, but his eyes remained sharp. With respect, Investigator, our transparency goes beyond mere cooperation. We have shut down all warp research as promised and prepared full access to our facilities. The squat reptilian investigator Drex snorted a sound expressing skepticism. We shall see human. The jellyfish being Lumi pulsed with gentle lights, a sign Olivia had learned indicated curiosity. I am most interested in your cultural repositories. Your request for Council archives suggests value in such exchanges. Dr. Wells, who had spent the journey documenting the biology of the delegation, members smiled warmly. We believe understanding precedes meaningful interaction, she said. Our libraries, museums, and historical records have been prepared for your review. Trell gestured toward the approaching planet. Your government has been notified of our arrival. We will proceed directly to your primary research facility in what you call North America. Additional teams will investigate secondary locations globally. Olivia exchanged glances with her colleagues. This was expected, but hearing it confirmed made the enormity of their situation undeniable. Earth was about to host an alien investigation team with unlimited access to humanity's most advanced technology and research. The descent to Earth proceeded with precision, the Council vessel cloaking itself from general observation as it entered the atmosphere. Political leaders, scientific authorities, and military personnel waited. At the designated landing zone, a secured area within the International Space Agency complex in Colorado, President Russell stood at the forefront of the welcoming committee, her expression composed despite the historical significance of the moment. This marked the first official alien delegation to set foot on Earth's soil as the delegation disembarked, surrounded by human security forces, more for show than effectiveness against beings of their capabilities. Olivia made introductions, keeping the ceremony brief and functional as the council preferred. President Russell addressed the delegation with measured dignity. Welcome to Earth. We have prepared accommodations and access as requested by the Galactic Council. Trell acknowledged this, with a slight inclination of her translucent head. We will begin immediately. What followed was a whirlwind of activity. The delegation split into pairs visiting research facilities across the globe. Over the next several days, they examined every aspect of Earth's warp development program, interviewing scientists, studying schematics, and observing test facilities. Olivia accompanied Trell and Krill to the primary research lab, where Dr. Elena Rivera, the lead warp physicist, waited anxiously. Dr. Rivera, Olivia began. These are Chief Investigator Trell and Specialist Krill from the Galactic Council. They wish to examine our warp field generators and theoretical models. The physicist nodded, her dark eyes moving between the aliens with poorly concealed fascination. Of course, Ambassador. We have prepared complete access to our systems, including the original development protocols dating back 20 years. Krill moved immediately to the central chamber where the prototype warp field generator stood dormant. His compound eyes scanned the device, his mandibles clicking in what Olivia had learned was an expression of interest, while Trell interfaced directly with the research computers, her partially transparent form seeming to merge with the technology. After several hours of examination, Krill stepped back from the generator, addressing Dr. Rivera directly. Your mathematical models are unusual. The approach differs from standard methods. Dr. Rivera nodded. That was actually a breakthrough moment for us. We abandoned conventional models and explored a quantum entanglement approach instead. Trell disengaged from the computer systems. The similarity to Vexari methodologies remains concerning. Dr. Rivera looked startled. I assure you, we've never had contact with any alien civilization prior to your arrival. Our approach developed from purely theoretical work. Across the globe, similar conversations occurred as the delegation scrutinized Earth's technology and intentions. At the United Nations headquarters, Florin and Drex interviewed diplomatic leaders about humanity's governance structures and conflict resolution methods. At universities, Lumi absorbed human cultural and artistic achievements. On the fourth day, the delegation reconvened at a secured facility to discuss their findings. Olivia, Admiral Porter, and Dr. Wells were excluded from this meeting, left to wait anxiously for the outcome. Were they finding what they expected? Porter asked, pacing the conference room where they had been asked to wait. Olivia shook her head. Impossible to tell. Their reactions are difficult to interpret through the lens of human expression. Dr. Wells looked up from her notes. Lumi seemed genuinely impressed with our cultural achievements, particularly our music. The concept of harmonizing different tones appears to resonate across species. The door opened and Trell entered alone, her form more opaque than usual, a sign of formality. We have reached a preliminary assessment, she stated. Olivia steeled herself. What have you found? The technology similarity is undeniable. Trell began, but the development pathway shows distinct differences from Vexari methods. Your species appears to have independently arrived at similar conclusions through different means. Admiral Porter exhaled audibly. This confirms what we told the Council. Trell continued. However, we have uncovered a concerning anomaly that requires explanation. The three humans exchanged worried glances. What anomaly? Asked Olivia. In your historical archives, we discovered references to an incident 50 years ago. A crashed vessel in a region called New Mexico. Your government apparently recovered technology from this craft. Olivia felt her heart sink. That was a classified military project, not alien technology. Trell shifted her form, expressing what might be skepticism. Our analysis suggests otherwise. Fragments of your early theoretical models contain equations remarkably similar to Vexari computational methods. We require access to all information regarding this incident. This was unexpected. Olivia realized they were referring to the Roswell incident, long considered nothing more than conspiracy theory by most of Earth. She looked to Admiral Porter, whose expression had hardened. Porter cleared his throat. "Ambassador, I need to speak with you." Privately, Trell moved toward the door. "We will reconvene in 1 hour. I expect full disclosure regarding this matter, once alone." Porter spoke urgently. "There was an incident. Olivia. Not the mythologized version from popular culture, but something real. The military recovered materials unlike anything we'd seen before. It was classified, beyond top secret." Olivia stared at him in shock. "Why wasn't I briefed on this before we made contact?" Porter ran a hand over his face because it was deemed irrelevant. The recovered technology was damaged beyond functional analysis. It provided inspiration for certain theoretical approaches, but nothing substantial. No working technology, no alien bodies, nothing like. The conspiracies suggest Dr. Wells joined the conversation. This changes everything. If there was Vexari technology on Earth, even damaged fragments, it supports the Council's suspicions. Olivia paced the room, thinking rapidly. "We need to disclose everything. The worst approach now would be continued secrecy." Porter nodded reluctantly. "I'll contact the President for clearance. The files have remained classified for 5 decades. When Trell returned with the full delegation, Olivia addressed them directly. "We are prepared to provide all information regarding the incident you referenced. Admiral Porter has received authorization to grant you access to classified files regarding the recovery of unknown materials." In 1947, Krill clicked his mandibles rapidly. "This confirms Council suspicions. The Vexari were present in your system before your official development." Olivia raised a hand. "Please understand, the recovered materials were minimal, fragmentary, and mostly unrecognizable. Our scientists derived inspiration from certain mathematical patterns, but nothing approaching functional technology. This represents a case of limited influence, not coordination or alliance." Trell interfaced with the computer system Porter had prepared, accessing the classified files. "Interesting," she commented after several minutes. "These fragments appear to be from a Vexari scout vessel, not a military or..." The return journey to the Galactic Council headquarters seemed faster than the initial trip. The luminous Accord slipping through space with otherworldly efficiency, Ambassador Olivia Hale spent much of the time in quiet conversation with the delegation. Members, particularly Lumi, whose curiosity about human culture proved insatiable. The jellyfish liked being pulsed with excited lights, as Olivia explained concepts from Earth, music, literature, and philosophy. Admiral Porter maintained a professional distance from the delegation, his military bearing never quite relaxing. Even as Dr. Wells established a collegial relationship with Florin, the Vine being exchanging information about biological diversity on their respective worlds as the massive ring structure of the Council headquarters came into view. Olivia felt a knot of tension form in her stomach. The investigators' report would determine Earth's fate in the galactic community. Trell approached as Olivia stood at the observation window. "We arrive in 1 hour," she stated, her translucent form shifting with subtle patterns. "You appear concerned." "Ambassador." Olivia smiled slightly. "I carry the weight of my species' future investigator. It would be strange not to feel concern." The being's featureless face tilted. "The Council is not malevolent, merely cautious species that rush into the galactic community without proper preparation, often trigger conflicts they cannot control, or become pawns of established powers," added Olivia. Trell's form rippled in what might have been appreciation. "You understand more than most emerging species." When they docked at the station, the atmosphere felt different from their first arrival. The 3 humans were escorted not to the main council chamber, but to a smaller meeting room where representatives from 12 species awaited them. A tall being with an exoskeleton resembling polished bronze rose to greet them. "I am Counselor Zaltar, head of the Evaluation Committee. Our role is to review investigative findings before presentation to the High Council." Olivia bowed slightly, thanking him for the introduction. The counselor gestured for everyone to be seated at a circular table designed to accommodate vastly different physiologies. Chief Investigator Trell delivered her report methodically detailing the delegation's findings regarding Earth's warp technology, the recovered Vexari scout fragments, and the assessment of human intentions. Throughout the presentation, Olivia watched the committee members. For reactions, though, alien expressions proved difficult to interpret. When Trell finished, Counselor Zaltar turned to Olivia. "We have questions." "Ambassador." Olivia straightened her posture. "Of course, Counselor," a being resembling a massive feathered serpent, coiled in its seat, addressed her first. "Given confirmation that Vexari technology influenced your development, how can the Council be certain human expansion won't eventually mirror Vexari aggression?" Olivia considered her response carefully. The Vexari fragments represented a mathematical inspiration, not a technological blueprint. Furthermore, our proposal demonstrates our fundamental difference from the Vexari. We seek to learn before we expand, to understand before we act. The Vexari, by your own historical accounts, never showed such restraint. Another counselor, a being composed of what appeared to be living smoke contained within a crystalline structure, spoke next. "Yet you developed military applications for your spacecraft before peaceful ones. This suggests aggressive priorities." It was Admiral Porter who answered. "The first space technologies on Earth were indeed developed for military purposes during a period of planetary conflict. However, subsequent development has been increasingly cooperative and civilian-led. Our current space initiatives are multinational collaborative efforts focusing on exploration, not dominance." The smoke being swirled thoughtfully. "Intention is difficult to verify." Admiral Dr. Wells leaned forward respectfully. "You have extensive psychological and sociological data on the Vexari from your encounters with them. How do we compare? Our delegation has provided unrestricted access to Earth history, including our conflicts and mistakes. Compare our patterns to theirs. Empirical analysis should reveal whether we share their expansionist tendencies." This suggestion caused a ripple of communication among the committee members. Zaltar addressed Trell directly. "Does your delegation recommend a full council hearing?" Trell shifted her form to its most formal configuration. "We do. The humans present unique circumstances that warrant consideration by the High Council." Zaltar nodded decisively. "The full council will convene tomorrow to hear your case. Ambassador Hale, you and your colleagues will present Earth's position directly to the assembled representatives." After the committee adjourned, Olivia and her team were escorted to diplomatic quarters within the station. Once alone, they spoke freely. "This is progress," Porter noted cautiously. "At least we're getting a full hearing." Dr. Wells appeared less optimistic. "Did you notice the reaction when I suggested comparing our psychological profiles to the Vexari?" Definite concern. Olivia moved to the viewing portal, watching the endless stream of alien vessels coming and going from the station. The committee's questions revealed their core concern. They fear we're Vexari proxies, or worse, that we'll independently develop into a second Vexari threat. Porter frowned. "But they've seen our history, our development patterns. Surely they recognize the differences." Olivia turned to face her colleagues. "Think about it. From their perspective, the Vexari nearly destroyed them. We show up with suspiciously similar technology. We're an unknown quantity with demonstrated capacity for both tremendous violence and remarkable cooperation. They can't afford to be wrong about us." Wells nodded thoughtfully. "So our presentation needs to emphasize the fundamental differences in our development philosophy compared to the Vexari?" "Exactly," Olivia confirmed. "And I think I know how. Throughout the night, they prepared their case, studying the council archives they'd been granted limited access to, and developing a presentation strategy that would highlight humanity's unique qualities without minimizing the legitimate concerns raised by the Vexari connection." The next morning, they entered the vast council chamber with purpose. Thousands of representatives from across the galaxy watched as Olivia took her place at the central platform. The 7 High Elders presided from their elevated dais with Elder Vorel. At the center, Trell presented the delegation's findings, first outlining the investigation results in meticulous detail. When she finished, High Elder Vorel addressed the humans. Ambassador Hale, the Council acknowledges the cooperation shown by Earth during this investigation. However, the confirmed Vexari influence on your technology development raises serious concerns. You may present your case, rather than stepping immediately to the formal podium. Olivia moved to the center of the platform. I request a demonstration rather than a traditional presentation. She stated. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Elder Varel tilted their head. What demonstration do you propose? Olivia gestured toward Dr. Wells and Admiral Porter. With your permission, my colleagues and I wish to demonstrate a human decision-making process. We believe it will illuminate the fundamental difference between humanity and the Vexari. After brief consultation with the other elders, Vorel granted permission. Proceed, Ambassador. Olivia nodded to her colleagues who joined her on the platform. Each positioned themselves at points forming a triangle. Wells carried a small device retrieved from their quarters. What we are about to demonstrate, Olivia explained to the assembled council, is a method humans have developed for resolving complex problems with competing interests. We call it collaborative problem solving. While the Vexari, according to your records, operated through strict hierarchical command structures, humans have developed multiple approaches to group decision-making. Dr. Wells activated the device, which projected a holographic display, visible to the entire chamber. The problem we will address is genuine, Wells explained. This represents Earth's current energy distribution system with its inefficiencies and environmental impacts. Porter stepped forward, indicating different sections of the projection. From a military and security perspective, certain power systems represent strategic vulnerabilities, yet they remain necessary for civilian infrastructure. The three humans began a structured but clearly authentic debate, each presenting different priorities and concerns. Wells advocated for environmental protection, Porter for security and strategic interests, and Olivia for diplomatic and humanitarian considerations. Their disagreement was evident, yet conducted with mutual respect. As they proceeded, they demonstrated various human problem-solving methodologies, compromise, consensus building, and creative recombination of ideas. The chamber grew unusually quiet as thousands of alien representatives observed this uniquely human process. After several minutes, they reached a modified solution represented in the holographic display. This, Olivia explained to the council, is how humans approach complex problems. We acknowledge competing legitimate interests. We debate sometimes, fiercely. But we seek solutions that accommodate multiple perspectives rather than imposing a single viewpoint through dominance. The Vexari, according to your historical records, never demonstrated this capacity. They conquered. They did not collaborate. Elder Vorel studied them with luminous eyes. An interesting demonstration. Ambassador, but decision processes can be performed for show. Your actual history contains numerous examples of conflicts where compromise failed. 1 year after Earth's provisional admission to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Olivia Hale stood before the United Nations General Assembly in New York City. The chamber had been modified to accommodate the dozen alien representatives who sat among Earth delegates. Their presence still drew stares despite becoming increasingly common in diplomatic settings. Madam Ambassador, the Secretary General nodded for her to begin. Your report on our first year of council membership, Olivia surveyed the assembly, human and alien faces watching with varying degrees of interest and concern. This would be her most important address since returning from the council station. Distinguished delegates, she began. Earth has completed its first standard galactic cycle as a provisional associate of the Galactic Council. I am pleased to report significant progress in multiple domains. She activated a holographic display showing the newly constructed Council observation post orbiting between Earth and Mars, its crystalline structure gleaming in the sunlight. The post now hosts 37 representatives from 22 Council species. They monitor our warp technology development, provide educational resources, and facilitate cultural exchange. Delegate from Brazil raised her hand. Ambassador, what technology has been shared with Earth under this arrangement? Olivia nodded, acknowledging the question. An expected one. The technology exchange has been selective and carefully controlled. We have received modifications to our warp field equations correcting potential instabilities in our original design. We have also received limited medical technology focusing on non-invasive diagnostic systems. Finally, we have been granted access to environmental restoration methodologies to address climate damage. She deliberately did not mention weapons or defense systems. The Council had been clear that such technology would only be considered after Earth demonstrated peaceful integration over multiple cycles. Admiral Porter, now serving as Earth's military liaison to the Council, stepped forward to address security concerns. The observation post includes defensive capabilities, he explained. These are not directed at Earth but rather designed to protect our system from potential external threats. The Council has confirmed that twice in our history, unknown vessels approached our system, but were turned away by automated Council beacons. These incidents occurred in 1997 and 2008. This revelation caused murmurs throughout the Assembly. The idea that Earth had nearly experienced first contact decades earlier was sobering. Dr. Maya Wells, now Director of Xenobiological Studies, added, "The Council archives have been invaluable in advancing our understanding of galactic biodiversity. This knowledge has already led to breakthroughs in medical research and environmental science." Olivia continued with her report. The Council has expressed particular interest in several aspects of human culture and science. Our musical traditions, collaborative problem-solving methodologies, and our adaptive social structures have been studied by numerous Council species. Their fascination with human creativity has opened diplomatic channels that might otherwise have taken decades to establish. She paused, allowing this to sink in before addressing the challenges. Our transition has not been without difficulties. The Cultural Integration Team has documented significant psychological impact among Earth populations as humanity adjusts to its new status. The Religions Committee continues working to incorporate the reality of extraterrestrial intelligence into existing belief systems, and economic analysts are still assessing the long-term implications of access to Council trade networks. A Russian delegate stood to ask a question. The Council enforces non-interference with developing worlds, yet they influenced our development through the Vexari wreckage. Has this contradiction been addressed? An excellent question, Olivia acknowledged. The Council Ethics Committee has been debating this very point. The current interpretation is that the Vexari incident represents an accidental contamination rather than deliberate interference. The observation post now ensures such accidents are prevented moving forward. Throughout the Assembly Hall, screens displayed reactions from around the world as the session was broadcast globally. Public response to Council membership remained mixed, with enthusiasm, curiosity, fear, and skepticism all represented in roughly equal measure. As Olivia continued her report, she highlighted the next phases of integration. The Council has approved the establishment of an Earth embassy within the Central Station. Construction begins next cycle. Additionally, 5 human representatives will join Council research teams to study stellar phenomena in neighboring systems. This represents our first official venture beyond our solar system. The Secretary General raised a hand. Ambassador, there are rumors that certain Council species objected to Earth's admission. Can you address these concerns? Olivia had anticipated this question. Yes. Several Council members expressed reservation about our admission. Their concerns generally fall into 3 categories. The Vexari technology influence our history of internal conflict and our rapid technological advancement without proportional ethical development. These concerns were deemed manageable through the observation program, but they have not disappeared entirely. She gestured to Trell, who sat among the alien representatives. The chief investigator had remained on Earth as head of the observation mission. Her translucent form now familiar to global audiences. Trell rose, addressing the Assembly directly. Your species remains under evaluation. The provisional status will be reviewed after 5 standard cycles. Earth shows promise, but certain factions within your population continue to demonstrate concerning behaviors, including weapons development beyond defensive requirements, resource exploitation without sustainability considerations, and resistance to Council oversight. The blunt assessment created an uncomfortable silence throughout the chamber. Olivia stepped forward. Again, Thank you, Investigator Trell, for your candor. The Council has been admirably transparent regarding expectations and concerns. She turned back to the Assembly. We stand at a pivotal moment in human history. Our actions in these early years will determine whether Earth advances to full Council membership or remains under supervision indefinitely. The path forward requires unprecedented global cooperation. A Chinese delegate spoke from her seat. Ambassador Hale, what benefits justify the restrictions placed on our development? Some argue we have sacrificed too much autonomy. Olivia considered this. Before answering, consider the alternative. Had the Council deemed us a threat, we would now be under quarantine, prohibited from any interstellar travel, and likely subjected to technology restrictions far more severe than the current oversight. Instead, we have gained access to knowledge that would have taken centuries to develop independently. We have protection from external threats we were previously unaware of. And we have the opportunity to join a community of thousands of worlds sharing knowledge and resources beyond our imagination. She paused, looking around the chamber. The Council is not without flaws. It is a political entity with competing interests, factions, and historical biases, but it represents the most successful attempt at peaceful coexistence among diverse species our galaxy has known. Their methods have preserved stability for millennia. From the back of the chamber, a voice called out, "What about the rumors of dissident Council species, Ambassador?" The suggestion that not all members are satisfied with current governance. Olivia hesitated. This touched on sensitive information. Dr. Wells glanced at her with concern. Admiral, Porter subtly shook his head in warning. Trell had gone completely still. Nevertheless, Olivia decided transparency served Earth better than evasion. Those rumors have some basis, in fact. The Council, like any political body, experiences internal dissent. A minority faction advocates for more aggressive expansion and less restrictive technology sharing. They view the current leadership as overly cautious. This admission caused another stir throughout the chamber. Trell stood again, her form shifting to a more formal configuration. This information is not restricted, Ambassador, but the Council would prefer internal politics be discussed with appropriate context. Olivia nodded, acknowledging the gentle rebuke. Of course, the point remains that Earth must navigate complex political realities as we integrate with the galactic community. We are not simply joining a unified entity, but entering a diverse political ecosystem. As the session continued, Olivia fielded questions about cultural exchange, programs, Earth tourism restrictions, and the timeline for technological advancement. Under Council guidelines, certain developments were accelerated, while others, particularly weapon systems, were deliberately slowed, ensuring Earth's growth followed. Established safe patterns. When the formal presentation concluded, Olivia met privately with key Earth government representatives and the alien delegation in a secure conference room. The true complexities of their situation could be discussed more openly here. President Russell addressed the group directly. What are our genuine prospects for advancement to full membership? Ambassador B. Frank. Olivia glanced at Trell, who gave a subtle gesture of permission. The chief investigator had become something of an ally over the past year. Realistically, Olivia began, we are progressing faster than expected. Our cultural contributions have generated significant goodwill among many Council species. The collaborative problem-solving methodologies we demonstrated during our hearing have been adopted by several governance committees.